Hi, I'm Matt Lee with Schematical, and somewhat with me, as always, is Dominic DeMarco, who's currently in Rome.
Happy Tuesday. I
Yeah,
don't have my coffee yet. There's a coffee shop about a 7-minute walk this way,
it was a bit late
but I
for
think we're
coffee
gonna
for
take
you. You should have a glass of vino by now.
it's early yet. We haven't had dinner.
Ah, okay. Wonderful. Well, today we've got a couple of things we're going to talk about, but one thing I've been listening to recently is Steve Eisman, who was played by Steve Carell in The Big Short.
Hmm.
Um, he recently did a podcast with someone that's deep into the AI space that's saying that LLMs may be at their peak, and so I wouldn't be surprised by it. I mean, I say I don't want to say peak like, hey, there's no way it's ever going, but it probably we're not going to see that hockey stick shaped growth. And he had a lot of good arguments for it. I'll send out the link
Mm.
in the next few days on one
But,
of my posts. But go ahead.
give us a bullet point overview.
Well, basically, if you look at ChatGPT 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4,
Mm.
I guess from 2 to 3, there was a massive jump. It was incredible
Mm.
the difference from 2 to 3. From 3 to 4, a fairly impressive jump. From 4 to 5, it was less so. And he argues that he thinks that what was released as 5 was not even what they wanted 5 to be. It ended up stalling out, and they knew they had to deliver something. With
Okay.
this, and I wrote about this a while ago. What I saw mainly with 5 is that they had a decrease in costs. So that I said was an advantage even if it's not getting more intelligent. If you can decrease the cost of it, that will help in some ways. At least if it's got a usage that makes sense. Um, so he's arguing his argument was, you have a baby, and from week 1 to month 2, whatever, it doubles. And then again, it doubles like by month 4. But if it doesn't keep doubling till it's 18, because it weighs 65 tons, so that pattern of just hockey stick growth is done, and that LLMs, which have seemed to be, everybody was like, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So it's like if you have an LLM, let's feed everything into it. You're gonna need to rely on other forms of models and AI like classifiers and different prediction algorithms that aren't just
Well,
generic LLMs. Go ahead.
I think his analogy is half, and the half he has is right, but I think he's forgetting about perhaps a second half that should be added onto that, right? So you're talking about the body doubling in size every X unit of time.
Mm-hmm.
um what that, and you use the analogy of a baby. Well, I'm going to say also the difference is the LLM might be the body. In this case, it might be a single part of the tool. The overall package, however, the mind continues to grow in different ways. So maybe the LLM is maturing, but now other tools need to come in and augment that and take them to the next level. I mean, we were talking before this how we combine different LLMs to do different things, and you played with some things out there that you were unimpressed with in the last couple of weeks. But LLMs is only a giant database with some chaos mixed in at the end of the day, right? It'll say it can think, it can reason. It's a giant database with chaos mixed in. It's a giant mountain of data that's been mixed up and has numbers assigned to different things. There's only so far that's going to take you, right?
It's a parrot, yeah. In some ways, it just tries to predict the next letter, and it's been trained to put out letters in a certain order that will let it
Mhm.
call other tools.
And
But
and it
it's
does what it does very well. Like, okay, I'm in Rome. I want to take a walking tour and I want to pass the Colosseums, Campo dei Fiori, the Pantheon, the Spanish Steps, and the Parthenon. Tell me how to do it. And Google's going to own that search because not only do they have the foot traffic, the search history, but also all of the bus routes and everything else to say, okay, how do you want to do it? How much time do you have?
Mhm. and that's a
But that's
good
not thinking.
uh,
That's just jumbling up data and spitting out an answer.
right. Yeah, and I mean they're prone to hallucinations. Theoretically, they're going to get better at that, but they're prone to hallucinations. I've seen, just even the last few weeks, more than a dozen hallucinations. I guess
Hmm.
statistically, the amount of times I've used it, the amount of times it probably hallucinates about 1 out of 2 times for me, if not more.
1 out of 2.
Yeah, so
I
it's
mean,
not,
so you said you were playing with some what rag stuff, which isn't. it's in the same ballpark because it's still just regurgitating data and it's learning from new data. But I mean, you weren't impressed with that.
Yeah, that was AWS Nova grounding, and so basically it's supposed to be a RAG tool. You just flip a switch. You don't have to like pass it a specific tool call and all that stuff. You just pass a flag to AWS Converse when you're making the call, and it's supposed to allow it to call out and search the web. And I mean, but in reality, I don't think this is the fault of the model as much as the data they probably gave it there. That was, you know, Amazon's not Google, and whatever they were feeding it was not up to date and wasn't impressive. So I mean, I tried to get the S&P 500. I tried to get the price of various commodities. I tried to get what I would have thought would have been the head news lines, at least and it was completely. But I was like, give me the top 10 news lines, and they were all misses from what I was seeing that day. So,
well, if it's on Amazon, you think they should at least be able to pull back, like what is the top book you have for sale today or something.
Yeah, but it's possible the query was formulated poorly. It was possible that the AWS. It's more likely the AWS data set was slightly out of date. Because I was asking for pretty current, up to date stuff. So,
but I mean, isn't that where tool calls come in, or is that just not?
This is a tool call, but basically, I didn't have to explicitly say, "Hey, here's a tool call, and here's the service you got to use, and here's the API key." I just AWS wires it in, so you just say true, give it access to grounding, and then it'll try and use the grounding search engine. So it's more likely the AWS search engine was crappy or out of date. So
interesting.
Now, another thing that Steve Eisman, I think he said, was that they came to the conclusion that these LLMs are basically just scaling up. They're just trying to make them bigger, and in all reality, there's not a moat around any of them. And so, if you're
is there or is there not? Let's hold on that for a second.
They were saying no. As far as I can tell, no. I mean, as far as I can tell, these models are being deeply commoditized. I don't see.
I mean, they may have 90% the same, the public internet and public data sources. But is that 10% that they each have, whether it's Amazon search data, whether it's Google everything else data, whether it's choose some other Alibaba knowing something.
Well,
I think 10% make a big difference, and is that why OpenAI is just getting crushed?
There we go. So I think the generic kind of do everything LLMs are going to be problematic because they're not going to have super good insight into any one thing. So come here and we're just going to figure it all out. What we're likely going to see, because this is almost a race to the bottom. It's a price race because I know I'm very price sensitive when using these, and I don't want to say I'm the only one, but a lot of people are price sensitive when using these, especially at scale. It's going to be a race to the bottom. Who can run these the most efficiently and without cost, unless they have a way to be with. And that's basically if you took ChatGPT's interface, that they basically cloned it and made their own ChatGPT interface. So you can run your business from this thing without knowing how to do API calls or anything like that. It's the user friendly side of OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, that interface, or Gemini. Gemini is both an interface that I can type into and talk to or whatever, and it's also a series of models on the back end there. But it's basically cloning that interface that kind of remembers your conversation and all that stuff. It doesn't require API calls. So basically, everybody's jumping in on what OpenAI is big on. I might have lost you, but I'm going to keep going for those of you on the podcast. He's going through a rough spot. You back? So either finishing my thought is that if it's a race to the bottom, the ones that are already profitable, well-funded, and actually have access to more information than pretty much anybody on the planet are likely going to win, and that's Google. To an extent now, you could argue that Amazon has got a good shot at staying in the game because they don't really need to be the best at AI, but they want to make sure the web providers are using their technology. So as long as they keep you on their platform, then that's good for them. So for those of you in the audio, Dom has completely dropped, and I don't know. We'll see if I can get him back here. But We knew this was a risk, Dom being the world traveler that he is. But basically, there was an argument that said Google's likely to come out on top, and I don't disagree. I think that Amazon's got a good shot at staying in the game there. I will say I don't know too much about Perplexity and these other ones. So
There we go. Sorry, I came back.
welcome back, Dom.
So I was thinking as you were going through all of that, we just reached incremental improvements. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The novelty's worn off. The exponential curve is worn off. Those who have a business model that are making money off of it will continue to survive, right? Google's giving you better search results, deeper data.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, you think about what better use. Amazon's got the infrastructure it's got, but it's not running at anywhere near 100% capacity, right? So if they can take that extra GPU and CPU capacity and do productive model training and iteration with it, that makes all the sense in the world.
Mm-hmm. And
OpenAI,
I don't know what
their business. Are they just going to continue to work for Microsoft, or how is that going to work?
My assumption is that they're going to be a poster child for the bubble popping, but I can't say that for certain. But that's what my gut's telling me. Mm-hmm. Now, to be clear, when I say the bubble popping, I don't think AI is going anywhere. All right, it's just that the use of LLM is so overused, just like the use of
the $1 billion funding round is gone for the moment for LLMs and these first gen models.
They're going to have to find new ways to innovate, and just training bigger LLMs doesn't seem like the likely, end all be all. Now, I could be wrong, and I'm open to debate that if anybody wants to debate us in the comments section or come on and chat. But I just don't see that they've got a moat, and their margins, they're so unprofitable right now that, unless this thing really does change everything, but even if it does, Google's more likely to cash in on that right now than OpenAI, in my opinion. So I don't think Google's going anywhere. Obviously we'll see a correction at some point in the stock market and stock prices and all that stuff. But
I haven't looked for several hours, but didn't that start today with some political posturing over the weekend?
I missed it if it did, but I have been busy. Oh, the Coliseum. Oh, I missed the. I've got a nice photo of me doing acro yoga right in front of the Coliseum, which was fun, lifting my partner up. So, the good old days. So,
where does it go from here? Sorry, I'm trying to take a selfie at the same time.
I love the professionalism of this podcast. I don't blame you. No, where does it go from here? Well, like I said, I think Google and Amazon are in it for the long haul. I don't. This is not a financial advice podcast, by the way. None of this is advice or anything like that. But I think we're going to see this stuff, the kind of peter out a little bit, and we're going to see other niches heat up. I think classifiers are huge. I think finding niche classifiers. I was just looking for something today that could do. There was a cross modal embedding for vector databases. So basically, that's how we
can you break that down for me?
Yep. We have these AI powered databases, right? So before we'd have like a search by just the words that are in the text, or it could search by some tags you'd added. But this one can actually, now that we can, I think I've used the example of my torn bicep, which is doing better.
Okay.
But, we can classify images by having a bunch of images saying this is torn, not torn, or 20% torn or whatever, because you can have a partial tear. And then you can have, you graph that on an x-axis, and then the y-axis you graph, this is torn from the top or from the bottom. And so you feed the image, the next new image that it doesn't know anything about, into this model that's been trained on all those, and it'll position it at, this is right around 50 different or 1,000 different images of biceps that are fully torn from the top, and that way you can tell. So that's what we call an vector database. It uses X, Y, and technically uses up to 1,000 or so different dimensions. You can't really visualize that as a human, but so either way, you can do the same thing now with multiple image or media types. So that's image, that's text, that's video, and audio. So you could run them all through the same model, and it would embed them appropriately. So it could be like, hey, this audio includes talk about snowmen, and that'd be next to the picture of snowmen, which would be next to the text of snowmen, which would be next to a video of a snowman.
Sure.
And so it can do that with multiple models, and what's really going to be interesting is I think they can do that with even further more types of media. So imagine 3-dimensional models, you know.
Well, and something similar but different. I've often taken old foreign documents and uploaded them to these various tools, Gemini in particular, and said, transcribe this old Spanish, Italian, whatever document, and then translate it into English. So I'm sure it's relying upon completely different models there. One being some sort of OCR model, some sort of foreign language recognizer, and then some sort of translator.
Yeah. Well, the combination of different models is going to be interesting. You give it, it can do tool calls to do these other things, but basically what I'm trying to say is that like tools like vector databases can create and find patterns that are much more useful than something that's just trying to time out the next word. Yeah. So we can extract very interesting patterns and group things together in a way we couldn't, like events. I mean, something like you could do this to predict, sales. This client has clicked on these different things and all this stuff, and that all patterns in this area where the product they're really looking for, despite the fact they didn't search it directly, is actually this other widget over here. And so let's start recommending that to them.
But that's also going to plateau relatively quickly. But I guess like I said, these first gen models are in their it's no longer exponential. It's not linear improvement on them.
My argument is more that it's the divergence from using an LLM for everything is likely to happen. We're not going to see. Yeah, we're not going to see crazy growth in the use of LLMs. No. We're going to see crazy growth in the tangential uses of AI. And we're going to see some fizzle out because everybody's shoving AI into everything. It's just like, it reminds me of the 90s when somebody was trying to sell dog food. They had a warehouse in LA and they were selling dog food on the internet. You know how expensive it is to ship dog food from LA to across the country?
If that's all you're shipping, yes. If you're not Amazon, who's moving everything under the sun, yes.
Yeah. So Amazon now they can do it because they have warehouses everywhere and they're not shipping it from, they know exactly how the demand and they can ship them all at once. They're not like shipping like individual pallets of dog food or whatever. They're shipping. They have, it's like it's got the logistics of Walmart where they know, hey, this many people in this 100-mile radius going to have it. We'll make a deal to get it there in bulk. We're not shipping it one at a time, and we're not, so it's the logistic. People will figure out logistics of how to make these things work. I believe entrepreneurs, they're going to learn from their mistakes, but there's just been this hype train and I think it's starting to soften a little bit. But who knows? If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments.
The hype may soften. The revenue multipliers may soften, but I think the functionality is here to stay insofar as making LLM, at least for the foreseeable future, are going to make a daily impact on many people's lives, if for nothing else, how they interact with things like Siri, Alexa, or Google search. They may not be exponentially better next year than they are this year, but I still think LLMs do an incredible job in just helping us organize massive amounts of day-to-day information, whether it's responding to an email or finding me the best path to get there, or if I'm researching refrigerators, the best one to buy based upon certain criteria.
Yeah, and again, by no means am I saying the use of LLMs are going to completely go away. I'm just saying that like the hype trains of slapping, running everything through an LLM, expecting it to be better. People are going to be like, it's petered out here. And if they thought the business was going to get better, then so be it. Now, an interesting thing, and I'll let you go soon here because I know you got stuff to do, but an interesting thing that I've heard recently that I wrote about that's coming out soon is somebody said that used LLMs to vibe code because the interest on that tech debt gets lower as the models get better. So if I'm right about, or if I guess Steve Eisner and his guests are right, Eisman, sorry, then he's this other person that says, just use vibe code and just the tech debt doesn't matter. The models will be so much better and we can fix it later. Then he's going to be in trouble because he's on the wrong side of that bet. But, so it's basically like taking out debt right now and counting on inflation to inflate it away. You know, that's not a very that's a dangerous move in
It's
some
an
ways.
interesting argument. I don't know if it fits. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, the models may be better. You may be able to tell the model, hey, all the code you've written for me and put in this, go through and check it again to make sure it's still okay.
yeah.
Can it have it do a self-diagnosis, a
Good luck with that.
self-analysis?
Good luck with that. I'm not saying it's never going to be possible. I'm just saying I have been using them on certain side projects, and
Mm.
it's wrong half the time, if not more. So good luck. All right.
Indeed.
Well, with that said, I
Happy
think I'm going to
Tuesday.
wrap up here. Happy Tuesday, Dom. Go enjoy. Are you going to go to that little place with the little Italian lady that cooks whatever she wants, and you just got to eat it?
No, I've been to that place enough. There's a lot of other good places to go, but I will surely be at my favorite study work library tomorrow.
That was one of the best meals I probably ever had.
Yeah, I remember. I know right where that is. That's right off of Campo dei Fiori.
Oh yeah, I love it. All right. Well, Miss Italy, you have a good time. Anybody else, if you need help with this stuff, that's what we consult on at schematical.com. We also have cloudwargames.com if you want to train. And we've got the schematical.com community if you'd like some group coaching on this. So this is what we do. Everybody have a great day.
Buonanotte, all. Ciao.